Why do representatives hate the American people? Like, I know we just got a stimulus bill passed for 908 billion, but a lot of that is going for corporate subsidies, loans, and everything else for higher corporations. But let the people get $600 on their next stimulus check. Man, Pelosi's a trash negotiator, and McConnell's a piece of shit. That's nothing new. And Trump hasn't handled this pandemic well, but it's just kind of weird. Like, people need more relief. We need a UBI. We need more than 12,000. I mean, Bernie did a good job. He did the best he could, I should say, in negotiating for $600 for the next stimulus. But he should have started at 2 grand or fought for a UBI and then negotiate from there. But no, that didn't happen. And $600 is better than nothing. Like, yeah, but people are still facing eviction. People are still starving. And empirically, having a UBI during the pandemic, if we look at Scandinavian countries or the Western countries, or hell, even some Eastern countries, having those payments and a universal basic income per month and incentivizing people to stay home to decrease the numbers during the pandemic has been far more beneficial, because what do people do when they earn more money? They spend it. They don't have to face eviction, but people have bills to pay. People have to face evictions. People have to pay a bunch of shit. But no, like, more of the money is going toward corporations. And we haven't had a stimulus since frickin' summer. And I think, what's the other thing? It's about $300 is going into unemployment. $300 extra. I mean, it's not $600, and it's better than nothing, that's for sure. But I'm just like, unemployment is very specific circumstances, such as like being furloughed from work or having to be laid off from a job. Some people are getting decreased hours because their businesses aren't doing well, mainly small businesses. I mean, don't get me wrong, corporations aren't exactly doing well either. But that being said, it's not the corporations who need the main bailout. That money circles around somehow, and that's usually from the people's pockets. Like, this happened in 2008. The people didn't get money. It was Wall Street that got the money. And the United States had the most trouble recovering from the 2008 recession, the housing crisis. God dang it! I can't believe I forgot what it was called. That's because people couldn't get money directly in their pockets to actually make the money flow. Pelosi has no backbone. Like, suddenly she looks progressive when it's on, like, cultural issues. Like, oh, cultural issues can be important, but when it comes to, like, actual progressive legislation and getting money into the people's pockets during a pandemic, considering the pandemic has been handled piss poorly, come on. Like, Pelosi she just kind of succumbs to what the Republicans want. I mean, thankfully there are some Republicans on the Senate. I think Senator Thune. I have to remember his name, but like, Bernie Sanders has reached across the aisle to a Republican who said, yeah, people need money directly in their pockets. So you have the progressive, or the populist left, and the pseudo-populist right working together, but man, it's better than nothing, gotta say. Like, I gotta thank Bernie for fighting for it, and I have to thank AOC for actually having the balls to come out and recently say, like, yeah, there needs to be a change in leadership in the Democratic Party. Schumer is a minority leader in the Senate, is just doing a piss poor job. And Pelosi is just trash. I'm sorry. And what they should do right now, and I've done a lot of research into this, but is the progressive Democrats should withhold their vote on making Nancy Pelosi Speaker of the House to have a vote on Medicare for All, which may or may not pass, but to have that leverage, because there is a possibility that Nancy Pelosi won't be Speaker of the House. That also being said, I understand the other side, being that Speaker of the House could go to someone who's more conservative, which could also be a problem. But, I mean, if they don't do this strategically, they need to be able to do this to Pelosi, because Pelosi's a trash negotiator. She always capitulates to the conservative Democrats and the Republican Party. But when it's the people, people are begging. And we go from a loaf to like having to negotiate crumbs. And Pelosi's just like, well, my constituents in D.C. want this, so therefore it'll happen here. This country's politics, man. It's all kinds of screwed up. Thankfully, we're slowly getting more people who represent the people. AOC has been a lot more vocal, thankfully, even though she hasn't been 100% on certain issues, in my opinion. That being said, and the people need more relief. And we're just getting crumbs. And, like, I don't have it bad, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about my personal situation, but there's plenty of people in the United States who have it way worse than I do. There are people who are starving. There are people who are facing eviction. There are people who are losing their jobs. Like, actually losing their jobs, getting laid off. And they can't financially support themselves or their families. I don't have a family. Well, I mean, I have my mother, but I don't have children to support. And our legislation's trash. It's no wonder Pelosi has a worse rating than Trump. That's amazing.